Claude Fable, 5 the capable giant with a catch. Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. We are looking at what is absolutely, without a doubt, the most significant leap in artificial intelligence we've seen this year. Anthropic has just unleashed Claude Fable 5. It's this massive, highly capable giant of a model, and it's designed specifically for the hardest problems in knowledge work and coding. But as you'll see in just a minute, a model this powerful comes with a very specific catch.
You know, the reaction from industry veterans on launch day really tells you everything you need to know. Andrej Karpathy didn't just call this some minor incremental update. He literally called it a major version bump deserving step change. And honestly, that sets the stage perfectly. We're not talking about a model that just writes slightly better emails anymore. We are talking about a model built to handle highly ambitious, long horizon tasks that would have completely derailed earlier generations of AI.
So what does this all mean? Well, to understand why it's such a big deal, we gotta look at the architecture. Fable 5 introduces this entirely new tier to Anthropic's lineup, and it's called the Mythos class. Up until now, Opus was their absolute top tier, right? Well, Mythos sits directly above Opus. It is fundamentally engineered for complex, multi-day asynchronous tasks. This basically means you can give it an overarching goal, walk away, and it will plan, execute, check its own work, and even recover from errors autonomously over days at a time. It's a real game changer. And the benchmark jumps here are just jaw-dropping. It perfectly illustrates what happens when you build a model for that kind of endurance. We're talking an 80.3% on Sweetbench Pro. That is a notoriously difficult software engineering test. Spatial reasoning? It nearly tripled compared to previous models. Legal reasoning skyrocketed too. I mean, get this, it can even rebuild a web app's entire source code just by looking at screenshots. And it does all of this while staying perfectly focused across a massive 1 million token context window. Just incredible.
To put that into perspective, let's look at a real-world, live demo-style test run by Stripe. Just imagine dropping a massive 50 million-line Ruby codebase into a prompt and asking for a complete migration. Normally, that breaks a model. But instead of breaking down, Fable 5 maps the architecture, executes the code changes, and finishes the whole shebang autonomously in a single day. 1 day. Stripe actually estimated that exact same task would have taken a dedicated team of human engineers over 2 months to complete by hand.
But it's not just code. This kind of autonomous endurance unlocks some incredible visual capabilities too. Think about video games for a second. Older Claude models, they needed complex helper harnesses and extra game state data to play something like Pokemon Fire Red. While Fable 5 beat the entire game using nothing but raw visual screenshots. Seriously. No internal maps, no navigation aids, no nothing. It just looked at the screen and played the game from start to finish, totally autonomously. Now, when you stack Fable 5 up directly against its sibling, Opus 4.8, and its main competitor, GPT 5.5, its top-of-the-class status becomes pretty undeniable. It is leading the pack. But here's the real kicker that the sources emphasize. The longer and more complex the problem gets, the wider Fable 5's lead becomes over these other models. It just thrives on complexity.
All right, so here is the catch we mentioned at the very start. Anthropic actually released 2 identical twins today, Fable 5 and Mythos 5. Because these models are just so incredibly capable at things like finding software vulnerabilities or crunching biological data, Anthropic really had to lock them down. So Mythos 5 is highly restricted to government and vetted partners only. But Fable 5? That's the public version. And because it's public, it comes with some incredibly strict, conservative safety classifiers built right in.
For developers listening to this explainer, you really need to understand how this fallback process actually works. If Fable 5's classifier flags your query, say you're asking about cybersecurity or chemistry, Fable 5 is going to automatically decline the request. But, and this is pretty brilliant, instead of just throwing an error, your query is seamlessly routed to the next most capable model, which is Opus 4.8. You get the Opus response, and crucially, you're only billed the much cheaper Opus price for that interaction. It's a really smooth system.
Speaking of pricing, let's talk numbers. Fable 5 is definitely a premium tier. We're looking at $10 per million input tokens and $50 per million output tokens. That's exactly double the cost of Opus 4.8. It's a lot, I know. However, to soften that blow for developers building these massive long horizon tasks, it supports prompt caching. This gives you a massive 90% discount on cached input tokens. Since the model remembers your previous instructions, this is literally an absolute lifesaver. It drastically cuts costs for those repetitive, agentic workflows.
So if you want to get your hands on it, it's available everywhere today. You can find it on the Claude API, their consumer apps, major cloud platforms like Amazon Bedrock and Google Cloud Vertex AI, and even enterprise gateways like True Foundry.
Just a quick heads up though. Because of its sheer power, Anthropic now requires a strict 30-day data retention policy that applies to all Mythos-class traffic just for safety monitoring.
Are your workflows ready for Mythos-class AI? Look, what you should really take away from this explainer is that Fable 5 represents a total paradigm shift. We are officially moving from AI as a quick little chat assistant to AI as a relentless multi-day autonomous worker. The capabilities are here, the safeguards are active, but the real question is, are your own workflows and infrastructure truly ready to hand the keys over to a Mythos-class AI? Think about that as you plan your next big build.